Hello, 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 dear star shines. Welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. Oh, what an amazing week that has gone by. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us starseeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries. We have capacities, we have abilities that the rest of our larger human family don't necessarily embrace. Therefore, we have very unique perspectives of the kinds of craziness and chaos that's going on during this time of upheaval and change. So I am here to do to the best of my ability to provide a liberated perspective to these topics and issues that are challenges for us with expanded capacities, perhaps even call them multidimensional human capacities. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to pause here and give everybody some time to get on board. As you guys come on into these chats, go ahead and say hi. Let me know you're here. We have some very interesting and crazy cool events that have have come to pass over this past week. Uh-oh, my image is freezing. Let's see where my hello, dear sister Carol. Hello, Beverly. Let me know if it's still freezing. It may correct itself. I'll pause here, and hopefully the internet connection will correct itself. I'll just here. I'll double check my hotspot real quick. Give me one moment. One moment. I can hear you fine, but the image quality is poor. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Lag time, big lag time. Okay, so well, you know, I had a feeling because of the topics of what I want to talk about today, there was going to be massive interference. So this is just confirming that feeling that I was having going on here. Yeah, I'm still going to check my hotspot. Hold on one second. Okay, so according to my hotspot, I have I have 4 bars, which is a really strong signal. We'll see if this passes. And perhaps we can all take a few breaths, go into our heart space, and offer blessings to our technology and each other, for us to be connected and hear what is important for us to hear in these topics that I want to talk about today. I apologize that the technology is involved like this, but you know, that's how it works. When we have big resistance, when we're going up against big energies, you know, it manifests in so many different ways. Hey, Young Trick, good to see you. Hey, Tony, glad you're here. So some of the things that I want to talk about, and please let me know if it starts to correct itself. So one of the things I want to talk about is, if you guys have not caught it, Dr. Greer has put out a fascinating press release. I'm going to go ahead and paste the link here, because when you search for it on YouTube, it does not come up. I imagine it's only a matter of time before it gets, you know how things get shadow banned, stuff like this. So Dr. Greer, if you guys know this guy, he has been a part of the UFO documentation team for the past 30 years, documenting the secret government space programs and other sorts of things. Now, this is not necessarily a conspiracy theory driven agenda that he's had. He is all about the facts and verifying the testimonies of whistleblowers, and he has lots of high-ranking military, government, and other types of people who have come forward to talk about the government secret space program, and that is the government hijacking alien technology and building their own fleet of ships, their own fleet of different penetrating interdimensional type of technologies and weaponries and stuff like this. Okay, among of the many layers and scopes here is the weaponization of scalar technologies. So This is a very interesting event to happen. I know that, even if the larger human family doesn't know about this, the fact that this information is being talked about in the way that it is, and he's releasing it in the way that it is, to me, this is a major milestone, what do you call, timeline marker for humanity. And one of the big things about Awesome Beverly, thank you everybody for pausing and giving those blessings as well. You guys, we absolutely do have an impact on this reality, even if we feel like we don't. So hopefully this can help reinforce that. Technology is not necessarily the enemy. It's about being in right relationship with what's going on in our reality, right? Being in right relationship with what's happening in the now. And prayers, blessings, gratitude is always a wonderful, wonderful mechanism for us to step in, that's not the right word, frequency for us to step into, to come into right relationship with what's around us. So one of the big things about this release that he's talking about is the release of 0-point technology. And this is, some people call it free energy, but it's more than that. It's much more than that. And because the reason why I say it's more than that, and this is information I've gotten from the AMP people over the years, is that these energy fields, these technologies have electromagnetic fields that have a very significant impact on consciousness. Okay, they have a very significant impact on consciousness. So when we are in the energy field and an electromagnetic field of say, which, because lack of a better word, 0-point technology, we become all the veils between us and source energy gets lifted, and we become awakened beings. Now I'm talking about this as an impact on a collective like this. It's like the veils of all the lies get blown out of the water, and we become we are now in a field that is in harmony with 0-point. And there's even healing modalities called 0-point healing. Okay, because this is such a fruitful field for humans to be in. It's such a nurturing field for humans to be in, that our bodies, our nervous systems, all the different subtle levels of our biosuit get healed being within this kind of field. So there is really significant things going on with this. And I'm just going to highlight some of the things that he mentions in this 3-hour press release, okay? And this is a message from a dear brother, Starshine. I love you. Thank you so much for sending this to me. You always seem to be right on with things, even if we aren't talking that much. So he goes on to bullet point some of the highlights, because this is a long interview, and I just want to talk about some of it. I just want to talk about some of these pieces so you can get the gravity of what's happening. So number one is that he is taking all that information that he's been accumulating over the past 30 years, which is warehouses of hard copy files, not to mention recorded testimony, corroborated testimony, all the different evidences, right? He has now made it freely available to Congress, to the legislator bodies like this, and for them to review, okay? And on top of that, there's over 90 attorneys legally pursuing the different murder frauds, extortions, and the kinds of things that have been done by the deep state, so to speak, to keep these whistleblowers silent or to keep this information hidden. Over 90 different attorneys that are invested in pursuing legal action on these acts that have been done over the decades. Then we have 768 government whistleblowers. These are people in the government. And then he also announced that they have GPS coordinates of over 500 illegally operated black ops sites that is also within this case file that he gave to Congress. And then I think it's an oversight committee that's specifically been convened to look at this information. And then they released over 7 million documents of classified, illegal government-funded black ops projects that not even the presidents themselves have been read in. You know that particular statement he repeats a lot. He's made a couple of movies. One is called Serious Connection, and then there's another one, Undisclosed or something like this. I think it was on Netflix. And that is like what is in those releases is just like a tiny snippet of what's really going on or what's really been happening. So thank you, dear brother Starshine, for sending me those bullet points. That was really helpful. So, and I know from my own experiences that the government has definitely been reverse engineering this technology, because of my experiences when I was a child. I had several, a lot abduction experiences, and after I buried it and was conscious for a long time, and then it wasn't until my mid-30s that these memories started coming forward. And I knew that a lot of, especially the really hostile experiences that I had, were not extraterrestrial. It was actually extraterrestrial technology, as in the drones, the grays, the gray drones and stuff like this, that was being controlled by humans. It's like I knew that there was a human component there. Even, the times being taken to the moon and all this other stuff. It's like the beings that were causing the torture and the pain and all this stuff were, interdimensional aspects of humans that were implementing this. So I've been aware of these reverse engineers technologies for quite some time, but for him to come out and publicly, come forward with all this, that's a whole nother ball game. So it's, it's one thing if it's just one little, crazy starshine here having something off the wall to say, but the whole nother thing when you have a whole league of high-level professional humans, pursuing this through our legal system, through official channels, stuff like this. So, so this is very, very exciting. But there's more. There's a lot more. There is the other piece I want to add in is that I was in Sedona. Oh my gosh, I was in Sedona many years ago, maybe like 2000. I don't know, 2007, 2008, 2007, I bet. No, 2008. 2008, 2009. I was with some friends staying at the El Diablo resort. I don't know if you guys know that. Back then, it was on the very outskirts of Sedona, but there's a lot more that's been built out since then. But at the time, it was the very outskirts of Sedona. And me and a dear brother Starshine were on the patio talking. And he was like a kind of Tony Robbins mindset coach, clearing subconscious stuff and all this. And he was saying, all the medicine people that are talking about the shamanic healing and all this stuff, there's really something to it. And he was like, referring to the science. And I kind of like jumped in and I'm like, well, what about all those people who see the UFOs? And, and he's like, oh, well, they're just crazy people. That's his response. And I chuckled and I said, the ancient medicine keepers, the ancient medicine men and women, grandmothers and grandfathers of many of the indigenous lineages that I know about, talk about our relationship to extraterrestrials. Oh, I can't speak that. Well, we'll say ETs, and that we're kin with those beings. Many of them citing the Pleiades and Sirius and Arcturians and stuff like this. And, he wasn't very receptive to that particular comment. So I just stopped talking and let him keep going on his thing. Oh, is it frozen? Okay, guys. Kick up the blessings, darling. Kick up the blessings. Are we back? Are we back? I know there's a bit of a lag. Are we back? Let me see if I can pull this up on my own. Device. Are we back? Let me know. Are we back? Mm-hmm. Okay, you guys can hear, but the screen itself is frozen. All right, let me see what I can do here. I don't know if there's anything I can do here, actually. My device is showing 5x5. Let me try something here. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to change the internet connection and see if it changes anything. Hold on one moment. Okay, how about now? Any better now? Okay, I think we got it. I think we might have it now. Very, very cool. Okay. If we don't, let me know. I think this should do it. So returning to what I was talking about. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. You guys let me know. If you can hear me, great. If the picture's not wonderful, I don't know if there's much I can do that. All right, so from the ether, he has this whole theory that Albert Einstein was a fraud put in place with relativity for the sole purpose of keeping the structure of power via fossil fuels. Oh, that's interesting. Yes, I've heard as well. There's more. There's a lot more. All right. Hello, dear sister. Thank you for being here. Hello, dear Ella. Thank you for being here. Okay, guys, we're gonna keep going. I'm sorry about the picture. We're gonna have to just keep. Okay. Let's see what I can. All right. So I'm gonna speak like this, and you guys let me know that the sound is happening well. Okay. If the sound is good, I will continue. If this sound is not here until you guys let me know. Yeah, Beverly, thank you so much for reposting those so I can have it. I'm gonna pause before I tell my story. Okay. The audio is a bit laggy, but not too bad. Okay, got it. Okay. We'll see how this goes. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we will just continue with the sound if that's okay. So yeah, so we're in Sedona on the balcony, and he says pretty much, the people seeing UFOs, they're just crazy. And then I, express the thoughts about the indigenous, connections into ET family members and stuff like this, and that we all come from different extraterrestrials, ET beings, such as the Pleiadians and the Syrians and stuff like this. And he kind of shut that down, and then we just went on talking. And then he's in the middle of a sentence, and 3 massive UAPs, UFOs, right, fly overhead, and they were cloaked, but we could still tell they were there. So he's in the middle of a sentence and he's like, holy mother, he sees them. And as they fly by silently, and they're massive, like giant, football fields size giant, right? And they're flying in perfect formation, the 3 of them. And you can see you can sense, I should say, one of the wingtips even do a little tilt, and we perceive that clear as day, not with our eyes though, because of the cloaking technology, but we just knew that they were there. It's hard to explain that, to be able to see something that you can't actually see, but is there. That's how that was. And I remember the next day, I was kind of poking fun at him, and I was like, hey, what do you think about those people who see those UFOs? And he kind of looked at me and chuckled, and he's like, yeah, I'm crazy, as in referring to himself. So when I saw those cloak ships, I knew without a doubt that those were our own military. I knew that I just knew it. And there's a lot of talk about, there's a significant amount of activity where UFOs go in and out of Boynton Canyon, which is a formation there in Sedona. So it's been observed by many people in different ways, and there are lots and lots of star signs like us who have other perceptions, other abilities, who eat the whole thought about ETs and the whole thought about military having our own UFOs technologies and stuff is, of course, we know this. It's like a standard thing. But for the rest of humanity, this is mind-blowing. event. Mind blowing. Now, there's been a lot of talk on how in the hell is this guy still alive, right? How is this guy still alive doing all this whistleblowing, collecting information? And this is actually the part that I want to dive into, because this is where our discernment is critical, okay? What your inner truth. Thank you, Young Trick, for confirming the sound is better. Thank you so much. So our inner discernment is going to be absolutely vital in the moving forward with this, because nothing is what it seems, and there's no clear good guys, bad guys, people with good intentions, people with ill intentions. I see it as an intricately woven vine, growth. If you ever go into the forest and go into a really thick part of the forest that you can't enter because there's so much intertwined growing together, I feel like this is actually part of what we're looking at. So Greer is said to, he's either under extreme divine connection, protection, or he is he's deep state himself, and maybe he's a double agent, right? So when I first saw this press release, well, for one, I this timeline marker came to my mind, but also what came to my mind is that this could very well be a ruse to reveal the quote white hats, right? These are the ones that have the agenda to take the deep state down. I'll just summarize it as that. There's a lot more intricacies to who the white hats are, and no one really knows for sure. But this is a term used to label those men and women that have banded together secretly to take down the deep state agendas. Okay. So white hat, deep state, which is he? So I had that thought about him. He's a deep state guy, and this is a ruse to reveal all the white hats and something like this going on. And then a dear Starshine, who I know very well, mentions that she saw some sort of, or is in connection with some. Oh no! I think someone wrote a book, a mind control victim. I'm going to call it victim for now. The mind controlled mistresses that are commonly talked about within the deep state agendas, like Marilyn Monroe was there's a special name for those women. They're mind controlled, they're sex slaves, but really they're also surveillance tools. So the key is that they traumatize a mind and compartmentalize it in such a way, and to infiltrate different men of power or women of power, depending on what their appetites are like, and they become a special concubine, if you will, to these people, and they are sexually exquisite, irresistible in a lot of ways, but their subconscious is like a recorder. It records everything that is spoken in front of them. So after they come from their encounters with their assigned person, they get debriefed, and everything that they recorded, everything they witnessed gets reported, so to speak. So there's talk about Marilyn Monroe being that for JFK, and there's lots of other whistleblowers or people out there that talk about these mockingbird girls that are used to to exploit and take advantage of, or perhaps leverage, these men of power. And this dear Starshine friend of mine made a comment that this particular girl, and I don't have her name, unfortunately, maybe you guys can do some research, was assigned to Dr. Greer, and that he was at at many of these deep state functions. Now, I wonder if people even know functions are deep state or not. I don't know. And I'm not saying that he's corrupt knowingly. I'm just saying that there are other shenanigans involved. And when you have highly compartmentalized levels of consciousness, like if you have humans that are highly compartmentalized, one compartment of that human does not know what the other compartment is doing. And I feel like I've witnessed this firsthand myself not that long ago. So someone may seem like they're a certain way, but that's just that compartment. There's other compartments within them that have totally different personalities. Am I talking about schizophrenia? Maybe in a very controlled and surgical type of way. Okay. The thing is about these compartmentalizations is that, especially with the girls, is that once they hit maturity around 30 years, 28, 30 years old, they their compartments start to merge and reunify, and they're no longer in use. And this is usually where they die of a drug overdose or have some sort of accident, commit suicide, stuff like this. So, so these girls have been used and known about for many, many decades. I've known about this particular thing for a long time. But it's very, very interesting, the compartmentalization and how it works. Okay. People can completely turn from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde in a drop of a dime once they get older, because these compartments can't stay separate. They start to leak into each other and they start to become aware of each other. Okay. And this is where other sorts of penetration and hijacking is necessary to keep control. And what I'm talking about is using sex as a hijacking mechanism. Now, those of you who have been listening to these recordings for quite some time, you know that I'm a huge fan and once studied with a woman named Barbara Handclow. She is an absolutely brilliant Cherokee record keeper and Mayan elder and author, astrologer. She's done so many things. She's quite accomplished in her old age. And she, you know, working with her in person, the stories she would tell are really quite astounding. I've had so many liberation moments just listening to her stories. She's the one I learned about how menstruation used to be a solar cycle, not a lunar cycle. And I mean, there's so many things in human history from the Cherokee records that were absolutely profound. And I realize now, you know, it's because it's elemental records. It's the records that are stored within the geology of this planet, the memories within the stone people, the memories within the mountains, the oceans, okay, and so on. And one of the things that she said was that, you know, for many people, especially when this happens as a child, their initial initiation to the telluric realm, to elemental consciousness, is often by sexual abuse. Okay, it could be, you know, it could take many, many forms, and this is done on purpose because it creates an aversion to the elemental force, because the elemental force is associated with trauma, with pain, with terror, okay, with heartbreak. So when it comes to controlling humans, the earlier abuse begins, the more effective it is. And this is a real tragedy, but, you know, nonetheless, it's just part of the mind control agenda for the human race. So when this happens, the people, unless they really fully heal this decompartmental, or you know, this elemental initiation, and then I can't say it now, compartmentalization, unless they actively heal this through soul retrieval and many other mechanisms, you know, they stay fractured throughout the rest of their lives. And they also stay disconnected from the elemental force. And this is a hijacking of the elemental forces. Elementals are part of us feeling interconnected and at home here on this planet and in our bodies. Okay, having a soft, kind, sweet, loving relationship with the Pachamama and the elemental forces in our bodies is essential for us to feeling, you know, not just safe and secure and loved and interconnected, but it's an essential piece for us to be home, like our embodiment. So the more fractured we become, the more hostile our bodies become to the truth of our beingness, our infinite nature, the less of our infinite nature is embodied. And the less we're embodied, the more easily we are to be controlled by fear and other mechanisms. Okay. So So energetic infiltration through sex is also in this category. You guys have probably, I'm sure you've listened to talks in the past where, I've talked about, when you're having intercourse, or when you're making love, or even if it's just, straight up sex with another person, your guys' energies blend. And because of that blending, it's really important that the one that you're engaging with is a harmonic frequency match to you. Because what will happen is that if they're extremely disharmonic and they are coming into your energy and you guys are blending, now you have all this disharmonic energy within you from that experience. And if this happens over and over and over again, this creates a deep inner confusion, a deep inner conflict. Okay, a very deep inner conflict. And this is yet another way to hijack starseeds, to hijack star shines, is through inappropriate sexual interactions. Now, there is definitely a very powerful healing effect that sex can have. Some people might refer to it as the tantric arts. I don't necessarily agree with that label, because I feel like what a lot of people are calling Tantra isn't true Tantra. And because true Tantra doesn't necessarily mean sex, okay? It means deep presence within your Jaguar consciousness. And this is a term that's used in a lot of deep shamanic mystery school teachings, is when you are exploring your shamanic perceptions, your psychic eye is not the main data set. Matter of fact, discourage the psychic eye because it can be so easily hijacked. Illusions, holograms, can be placed within your mind's eye that are not the truth. It can be easily distorted because of the way that radio antenna works in our head. But feelings, right? The feeling of something, that cannot necessarily be faked. So they teach about clearing out your sacral centers, your feeling centers, your ability, clear out all the emotions, all the traumas as much as you can out of your lower sexual centers, so you can have an accurate feeling perception. And this is Jaguar. This is a presence so deep within your body, you can feel and sense with every hair, every whisker, every millimeter of your being, and into the sub bodies. And that's Jaguar tracking. That's shamanic tracking. So once you awaken your Jaguar body, so to speak, now you can be trained in the shamanic arts to deeper mystery levels. Now this goes many different directions because there's all kinds of medicines. There's all sorts, wind medicine, fire medicine, earth medicine. There's all sorts of traditions that utilize shamanic abilities. But across the board, what I've come across with the different masters in my life, that this Jaguar body is the essential piece. And in the past, it would take decades to clean out your lower sexual centers to such a degree where you can have your Jaguar senses come online. Now, of course, things are highly accelerated these days, and this isn't the truth anymore. Things can come online, cleared out and online very quickly, and that's because all these veils are not there anymore. And releasing things from the Akasha and the underworlds is so much easier than it used to be. Even the demonic realms don't have the power that they used to have. That's not to say the demonic realms don't have power, because they do, because of this sexual hijacking, okay, this mind control stuff, and these other kinds of technologies that our government is abusing. Okay, not just our government, there's other governments that are doing this too. But the really deeply embedded power over dynamics that we call deep state, right? That's an interdimensional infiltration into the human reality, in my opinion. All right, so going back to, so we have that energetic infiltration through sex. So you can imagine if these mind control girls, these mockingbird girls, You know, they're coming in compartmentalized and they're having sex with their particular assignment. You know, there is a very deep infiltration that can happen for the man as well as the girl. I'm suspecting that there was some programs put in place to hijack the men, because men are the, you know, the dominant sex that is in our government and controlling parties, military. So so this is a very interesting thing, because when we have energies, when we have cords that are going out to these beings, interdimensional infiltrators, demonic or whatever, they get in through back doors of our own psyche. They can get in through back doors. Any part of us that's willing to entertain anger, willing to entertain blame, you know, any part of us that's not willing to completely own our part of reality, you know, how we're creating it in the here and now, can become a back door for these threads to infiltrate. So this is really important for us as star seeds, to be aware of, because on an interdimensional level, as we step into our power as multidimensional beings, as we step into our deeper aspects of our own divine nature, our divine female, our divine male natures, and we work on that ergogamic union inside of ourselves, there's a point in time where an external partner will come that is an embodiment of that divine counterpart. Okay. And because of the infiltration being the way that it is, okay, just because a divine counterpart frequency comes forward does not mean that it's possible for it to connect. And that's because of this interdimensional interferences. And it is hidden. The stories of these interferences is hidden in plain sight in our history. So, and this is a very interesting piece to dive into. Now, you guys, I've mentioned a dear sister Starshine that studies parthenogenesis and teaches a lot about divine union. And parthenogenesis is what we would call Immaculate conception. And this is a sisterhood that has been, shamanic sisterhood that has been cultivated, mystery school that has been held together, cultivated over many, many tens of thousands of years. Mother Mary being one of them, Mary Magdalene also being one of them, Mary being a title, not a name, by the way, of females that had the ability to immaculately conceive. They had the ability to conceive a divine child. Okay. So the stories about these women are quite interesting, and it's all hidden. It's all right in our mythology. It's in our face. We just don't realize. We don't realize what the story is actually telling us. And this is the infiltration I'm talking about. And this is the story of Perseus's mother. You guys remember Perseus? He was the guy that found the Pegasus and was given the tasks to behead the former priestess gone Gorgon named Medusa, and in order to save his own mother from a forced union with the king, his mother being a divine priestess of this mystery school. Okay, so Danaea, I think that was her name, Danaea. So she was a priestess, and she was a one that had the ability to practice parthenogenesis. And the story of how Perseus was conceived was that Zeus, aka Anunnaki god, Zeus disguised himself as a shower of gold, golden light, and he tricked her into unifying with him, and that is how Perseus was conceived. Now, and Perseus being a demigod, and then he gets all these impossible tasks. You see what I mean? So the infiltration to divine union is not just within the visible plane. It's mostly within unseen planes. Okay, it's interdimensional. And this is where other people's work comes into play. These ideas that the womb being hijacked, these ideas that there are contracts and vows to birth unholy beings, all this stuff. And then there's lots of stories of our royalty getting hijacked by infiltrators, by different Draco slash reptilian slash Anunnaki infiltrators, Anu infiltrators. And this is the stories of the sexual union getting hijacked. Now, when you have a child that is born within the field of love, we have a couple making love, they really love each other and the field is very strong, and then a child is conceived in that field of love, that child is conceived within that field, and that imprints on the physical maturation of the child. Okay, that field of love is a very opening and endearing and a beautiful holding for the soul to come and connect with the conception. And then, of course, as the physicality grows, the soul is hanging out, and the right time, comes in and fully imbues that physical baby. But what if that child was not conceived in a field of love? What kinds of beings come into that body? You know what I mean? And you can imagine, the level of manipulation that's possible when that particular factor is brought into the scenario, right? We've all seen unloved children, and you can see it in their eyes. It's in their eyes. So the infiltration to these realms is nothing to shake a stick at. This is why the stories of soulmates, twin flames, all this stuff often end in tragedy. It's because there's so many layers of infiltration interferences that don't allow the divine union to happen between two beings. And it also interferes with divine union. Uh-oh. I have something very loud going by. We also have divine union within ourselves that also is a feat in itself, right? All right, I'm going to pause here. There's a couple comments coming in that I want to address here. All right, so Young Trick says, my shamanic practice teaches the orgasmic state as being present. The guy teaching us also says that Tantra has been hijacked and dirty and isn't about Jaguar energy anymore. Yes, I would definitely concur with that conclusion that your teacher's talking about. Okay. Yeah, so there's some loud noise on the outside. I'm going to have to wait for this guy to go by. For some reason, they decided to mow in the rain. I don't know what that's about. Or do we know what that's about? Okay, and then the other comment here from Trick says, he doesn't know the state of Jaguar's energy, but he talks about this exact thing, and that Tantra should be about being deeply present. Yes, that's the true Tantra, is about being deeply present. And, the Tantra practice has absolutely been infiltrated. In fact, it's been infiltrated so deeply, most, if not all, mystery schools have completely removed the sacred text about Tantra, about sacred sexual union from their practices because it is such an infiltrated field. Okay, and this is fascinating. Another dear Starshine was mentioning she's been in a Buddhist tradition, a mystical Buddhist tradition for a couple decades, and they too have completely eliminated all sacred texts around sexual practices, spiritual sexual practices. I gotta wait for this loud guy to go away. I'm gonna grab my headphones. One moment. I'm plugging my headphones in. Here we are. Okay, hopefully that is better. All right. So even the many the mystical text of Buddhist practices have also, eliminated the sacred sex from it, and as a spiritual practice. And actually, I had a dear star sign who, in the past, and also concurs with a very similar thought that the field and realms of human arousal and orgasm is heavily infiltrated with demonic activity and other sorts of interferences. And another place where it's super, super infiltrated is any kind of bloodletting. Bloodletting also attracts demonic energies. Many of you guys might feel it, when you go into, blood donation centers or anything like this, or anything that with needles that can penetrate the human body. There's crazy, weird energies all around them. Now, I've gone into different practices as far as doing like high dose glutathione and stuff like this with hyperbaric chamber therapies, and I always I bless the nurse, and then anything that's going into my body, I ask them if I can hold it and pray over and bless the elemental beings and my immediate surrounding and everything before I let anything stick me or go into me. And that's something I'm pretty diligent about. But actually, this reminded me of a show that was on cable a long time ago, back when I used to have cable, maybe about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, this show. If you guys know David Wolfe, he's like a health expert. And he was on this show with a woman who was a highly revered Wiccan. I think she was of the Gardnerian tradition. And then there was a man that would hang by hooks. I can't remember what they called him. And then there was a self-proclaimed vampire. And it was kind of like a reality TV show where they all lived together under one roof. And then there's competitors within this household where they had challenges they have to do. And the challenges were designed by one of these guys, either David or the vampire guy or the witch guy or the hook hanger guy and all that stuff. And there was a challenge where the participants were to be present when the vampire was doing his bloodletting ceremony. And of course, he has his own concubine that is more than happy to have him draw her blood, and he would drink it. And they showed this ceremony on TV. I kid you not. I mean, he put it into a wine glass and drank it. And afterwards, everybody was saying the energy got super crazy in that ceremony, and they were freaking out. And the witch lady, she just went into this hysterical heckle and laughter. It's like she couldn't even control herself. And everybody was like, what was going on with her? What was happening? And what was happening was that there were interdimensional, some might want to call it demonic, beings circling around this bloodletting ceremony, right? So, and anybody who's ever witnessed blood magic or been a part of it or know anything about it, that blood magic is really, really freaking powerful. Okay, you have this. You have many of the African Sangomas still practice bloodletting, maybe not of people, but definitely of animals. And then you have Santeria. Some forms of voodoo do this as well. Blood is very, very potent, and you can lure very potent interdimensional beings into your realm and have them do your bidding with blood. And it's equally as powerful. What is equally as powerful is sex, the orgasm. Okay? So they are very close in how powerful they are. And so this is why that spiritual sexual union practice has been eliminated out of the mystical texts and is known to be abused by those who are awake to what's going on, is because the interdimensional planes are infiltrated. And you have to be very, very, very aware in order to walk that path clearly. Now, it is said that the being currently known now as Jesus and Mary Magdalene successfully navigated that path and gave birth to a divine child named Sarah. Now, there's a very clear mythology that talks about that. But as we see in the story of Perseus's mother, that, you know, she was a highly trained priestess. For her not to catch it, you know, when Zeus was disguising himself as a shower of gold, for her not to catch it just tells you how subtle and how high level discerning one must be in order to achieve such a union. Okay. I had a dear brother Starshine that I once knew that told me that his teacher told him that the path of spiritual sexuality is littered by the bodies of those who have come before him. And that was a very interesting warning dispensed by the teacher, and one that I definitely know is true. It's absolutely true. So when we get into these deep state stories and this person getting hijacked and that person getting hijacked, it is a real thing. And, you know, the only way to clear yourself of these things is to use discernment and keep up proper energetic hygiene of yourself on a regular basis. You know, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 20 times a day, however many times you need to do this to keep your energy clear. And you do not engage in sexual intercourses unless it's someone that's truly a heart connection and is a frequency match. And even then, you still need to be very mindful about what you're doing. So there's also stories where, and I think Teal Swan also has a corroborating story to this, is that when you have mystical abilities such as starshine, star seeds, we have abilities, perceptions. We have a lot of heavily, we are very heavily encoded with light codes that gives us very special abilities. And when we are having intercourse with another person, they often get our abilities. They'll because our energy is blended in the way that they did, they'll be able to have our abilities for an amount of time. And Teal Swan tells a story about this is what her abuser did. It was an official somewhere in the Mormon church, a mentor, so to speak. I think she spoke of him as, and that's what they would do. They would have ceremonial sex, and they would reap. She was like a sex slave, and they would reap her abilities. So whenever, you know, the blending would start to fade and they wouldn't have the ability anymore, then it would be, you know, they would reinitiate the ceremony. So we are quite literally targeted by beings that are not what they seem, because they want to not just have our abilities, but feed from our energy. Okay. This is where you got to look. This is why a lot of empaths attract narcissistic abusers and stuff like this. It's because, you know, we're kind, loving people and we want to give. And oftentimes, you know, a giver is matched with a taker, and then, you know, they just keep taking until we wake up to our sovereignty. We wake to who we truly are as a autonomous sovereign being, and we decide not to allow that to happen anymore. It's like, yeah, no, I'm no longer playing this game. I am no longer contributing my energy into this endless black hole of taking, right? So, you know, bringing this all full circle here, there are amazing things taking place right now as far as opening humanity's consciousness to the unseen realms and beyond. So we have all these structures, and we might want to call them Saturn programs, black cube programming, right, that are getting blown out of the water. And the reason why they're able to be blown out of the water is because they've quite literally dissolved within these interdimensional fields. And the only thing holding these programs in place is our own psyche, is our own willingness to participate. And as soon as we're exposed to information, as soon as we're exposed to some kind of knowing or data that challenges that, and it can quite literally shatter these illusions that we have that reality is about. So Greer is doing his part in shattering the illusion for the collective. Whether he's working deep state, whether he's working for the Galactic Federation or not, it remains to be seen. And you might wonder, why do I say specifically the Galactic Federation? That's because the Galactic Federation are the keepers of the old reality. They're the keepers of the old paradigm reality, which is a finite reality of control systems, what I often sometimes call empire, interdimensional empire. So the agenda of the Galactic Federation is to have a landing here on Earth within the next 5 to 10 years, ban all weapons, bring peace to Earth, give technologies, ban all weapons, and now we all have to claim our citizenship within that interdimensional empire. I'm not necessarily for that timeline. I prefer liberation and freedom, the total, the wild, undomesticated, feminine nature. That's where I resonate. So to be up-leveled into a conscious citizenship of empire is not necessarily something that I'm interested in, because the empire is a commodification, is all based on the commodification of life force energy, right? So this is losing, this is soul sucking, this is, those black holes that suck the life out of stars and stuff like this. It's like, no, I'm not interested in that. I want the proliferation of Mother Nature, the proliferation of life as an alignment with Cosmic Mother, as an alignment with Pachamama, the realm of the Mother. So when I get in contact with certain layers within the Galactic Federation, I'm that kind of, it doesn't feel right for me. So maybe he's on that, maybe he's not. You guys let me know where you're at. But there was a story told that he had one of those concubines assigned to him for a period of time. And it may be just a short period of time. It could be, he's part of the divine plan in the sense that he was, temporarily taken over and now he's awake to another level. That absolutely can happen. And of course, we also have these time releases of embodiments, as the veils thin, more of the interdimensional realms are accessible by us. We have larger parts of who we are. Maybe one might call it higher self, or whatever, larger parts of who we are drop in and integrate within our biosuits. It's quite literally like a cosmic soul retrieval that happens spontaneously. Okay, that absolutely does happen. I've actually had this occur with me a few times where, larger aspects of myself just kind of drop in, show up. Very often it's I'll see it in a dream or some sort of vision, or I'll have like a major catastrophe in my life and, work my way through that. And on the other side of that, a larger aspect of me gets retrieved and reintegrated within my being. So things absolutely can happen like that too. Some might call those walk-ins. I don't necessarily resonate with that idea, but I've seen and heard people talk about it as a walk-in. So exciting things on the horizon. I want to just, hopefully this information that I'm sharing with you guys about the infiltration around sacred sex technologies, do tread carefully and be mindful of what kind of partners you've ever had in your life. And if you feel you've been having interactions with people who are very opposite of you or disharmonic from you, start calling your energy back if you haven't already. Or even if you have already, double down on your focus to keep pulling your energy from those systems, from those beings. And as you collect more of your energy from them, any energy of theirs still left within you will release. One more story before I let you guys go. Me and several people within the Light Body Academy did the womb space healing workshop that Marguerite Rigoglioso did in conjunction with Z Earth Star and Indigo Angel. Fabulous work they did. But there was some exercises in there that we did it as a group, doing some womb space chakra activations and stuff like this, activating the cosmic womb holy temple within the womb space. And one of them was geared towards eliminating unwanted energy from any lover. And I kid you not, I do a lot of energetic hygiene. I do a lot of clearing, personal clearing. I mean, that's just how I walk. And of course, with what I do, that's necessary. But after doing that exercise, I quite literally saw lovers that I had like 30, 35 years ago, I mean, long time ago, energies of theirs come out of my womb space. You know, so even if you think you have cleared your energy from past lovers, it's worth your while to go back and do more rounds of it. Do more rounds of it so you can become completely clear. A particular exercise that we were doing was returning the womb space to the pure state of virginity. Okay, so there are mantras for that. There are interdimensional spiritual healing processes for doing that. I highly encourage all the women out there with the womb space, or even if you don't have a womb space anymore, do this. You'd be shocked, absolutely shocked what happens. And the more we clean out these spaces, the more we clean out all of our sexual organs and all the ways we orientate to that kind of energy, the clearer our lens will be to developing harmonic, peaceful relationships with the elemental realm. Okay, this is the big piece here. So the Fey realm, the Deodyne, the Sasquatch, you know, all these beings of the elemental realm who are ascending into these other levels, as we clean up all these sexual distortions within ourselves that have happened in our life stream or in our ancestry or even in this life, the more we clean that up, the clearer our lens will be to have a solid relationship with the elemental realm, the telluric realm. Okay, that means self-healing. That means being able to heal nature, to bring healing to entire landscapes, to clean the waters, clean the airs through deep spiritual practices. We can do that because of our clear embodiment and connection with the elemental realm. But first, we got to clean up this space that has been polluted with all that hijacking of our sexual / field. Okay, guys. Thank you for being here and being a part of this conversation. I apologize about the video. Normally my connection is raging in this location with my hotspot. You know, there's interferences, of course, to what I'm talking about and what I'm putting my finger on. So it is what it is. I appreciate you guys sticking around to the end. I hope that this was helpful. Please let me know in the comments below after this video gets posted, because those are the ones that stick around for other people to be able to join into the conversation. And definitely help us out. You know, like and subscribe. Share this video if you find any of these pieces helpful. I do want to let you guys know, as far as that energetic hygiene goes, we have a course called Light Body 101 at the Academy, where you learn all the foundational tools to clear your energy and keep it clear. And this is more than just aura clearing. I'm talking about deep energetic cleaning hygiene practices, and you know, really potent interdimensional practices for the awakening star seed. So I encourage you guys to check that out. That is on Light Body Academy. It's called Light Body 101 Core Curriculum. All right. And with that, I am here. Thank you. I will see you guys next week. Lots of love. Bye-bye.